9 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, American. The chair is closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
Good morning. We're going to do some work on the Minuteman University website, and thought I'd go live here to have a bit of a morning lobby. So one way to do this now is to just go to your Gmail and open up a room. Okay, hopefully I didn't wake him up. But I just went to Gmail and then basically initiated a hangout with a friend of mine over there. Hopefully he's at work and doesn't care about that. So now I can take this hangout link and drop that on the gun channels. So now there's the link. You could drop it on other platforms, but we have barrier for trolls and stuff over on gun channels. And this way, if somebody wants to jump in, they can jump into this hangout over here. I'll move over this other screen so that it's not being annoying for us. That's weird. It seems backwards to me. Is it really backwards? Oh no, that's because I'm looking at a hangout window. Okay, so now I wish this was a browser, but it isn't. So now I've got the XSplit software running, which is annoying, because that means that has to run in order to keep my stream going with YouTube. That's software on my machine, so it's not a StreamYard or the Duck. It's not the Duck system where that uses the internet. And that's one of the things I wanted to update over here today. So now we've got the chat up and running. We've got the live text chat over here on YouTube. We've got the what's going on over here? It's just a different page. We've got the link over here on Gun Channels with a link to that hangout if anybody wants to join in. Oh, did I not do this right? I'm going to try it again. This time I'll add a link to the room that we're in. There we go. And then grab that. And stick that in here. There we go. Now there's an invite over there. People can watch it over there if they want. Gun Channels is a community built for shooters, by shooters, with a focus on firearms, and it's for conversations like this one. So now we've got Gun Channels up and an invite over there. We've got the YouTube. We'll see if anybody shows up. We'll hit refresh here and see if that makes any difference with the view count. And I guess at 5 o'clock in the morning, what is that, 8 o'clock in the morning back east, might be too early for people. What's up? This is not a show as much as, there we go. Yeah, this thing's already lagging. So I'm not going to be able to do much with Adobe or anything like that with this software. but I think I can go in and work on Minuteman University. That's what I'm planning on doing. So I just figured I'd share it a little bit and leave an opportunity for people to jump in and be part of it if they'd like. So let me figure out what I changed over here before I close this window. Did I change anything important? No. I'd opened up a document and something changed in it while I was playing with it, and it wanted me to save it, and I did not want to save it. I had to take a second there to remember if I had changed anything important. Yeah, there's nobody out there tonight or this morning, so we'll dig in. So got a couple of things I want to update over on Minuteman University, and there's a couple of emails I needed to do also. I'm forgetting something I know. Alright, so skills. So we've got Minuteman University broken down into two pieces: skills and resources. So been working a lot on the resource side. I'm on work, a lot more work to do over there, but today I wanted to figure out this live stuff. So creating firearms content, building online projects, creating a two-way website, guns on social media, firearms photography, and what software. So under communication, what do we got going on? Got verbal judo and some stuff about conversations. Those are topics of conversations, I guess. So where do I want to stick something about live? It's not really creating content, but it kind of is, and it's not really communication, but it kind of is. I think I'm going to put it underneath creating firearms content. I'll put it into this list over here. So we start with a new page. We've got the toolbar up because I'm logged into the website. Normally, if you were just visiting the website, which you can do, you're not going to see that toolbar at the top because you're not logged in. There we go. Alright, so we got a couple ways we can do a live conversation, so we'll talk about is there live podcasting though? That's really just live streaming. We have the streaming platforms, I guess. What else is there? Well, we get some coffee. What you think about that? You can come back and tell me all the answers here in a minute. The dog's all full of goat milk, so she's sleeping. buy generic nut milk, but they were out of it, so I had to buy name brand, and somehow I bought almond instead of cashew. What the hell? That woke you up. This over here? Alright. So I know how I do them, but there's other ways to do them. Is this thing gonna work? What the hell? There. Using this Grammarly free plugin. It's okay, but like this, I can't click on that. Doesn't tell me about this big ass O right there. Come on. There we go. Knowing life. What the hell is that supposed to be? How about if I do this? Out there yet. So if you guys want links, there's links on the main page. You click on channels, you come here and bullshit. Otherwise, I'm going to just start a podcast because I don't like sitting here in silence. I ain't that guy. So Regulation Gun Freedom Radio first. And if they got something new, they've been putting up recycling stuff. Yeah, so they're recycling this year. They haven't really put up new stuff since SHOT Show, so they're not really a podcast anymore. They were a really good podcast, and I'm going to be picking off all kinds of content from them as we go along here today. But can't listen to nothing there because I have to listen to it all. So I'm going to go to Riding Shotgun with Charlie. So let's see who we haven't listened to before. Ugh, I went to Lisbon. I'm not going to Lisbon. What is that? What's your damn website, man? Keep going to So we'll go to stupid YouTube if we're gonna go somewhere. So this is Ken Blanchard. We could listen to this one. I haven't really listened to this one in a while, but this was one of the first. Actually, this looks like, oh, this is a commercial. Look how long this is taking. Holy shit! Maybe I can't listen to a podcast. I can't listen to a book, I don't think, because of the laws.
Got people, even some black people that...
So this is just a 1-minute intro to the actual conversation. And that's from 2016, so you can put these up for a
I don't know
while.
black history, but the history.
Yeah, because I was like that.
Right?
I come back.
And it took that long for it to just take that, so we'll see how it works. This computer's got like 8 megs of RAM, so it's not a powerhouse or nothing. Let's see which ones I've already heard. I don't think I've listened to this one. I don't think I've listened to David Rosenthal either. So if this works, we're listening to Ride Shotgun with Charlie, episode something, and it'll eventually show up here. So in that time, I will say thanks to DTP. I'm now drinking some of this Colombian coffee. No, I did see this one. Should we keep watching it?
Very cool, very cool.
I'll have to have my wife share them because I took myself off.
Yeah, I think I was about 20 minutes into one, so we'll see show.
My name is Charlie Cook, and I drive a lot. I like to talk to people while I'm driving, so I interview people in my car while I'm driving.
Alright, now I got it going, but it takes a little while because of the lag and stuff, so whatever, I'm saying thanks to DTP. I'm drinking some of the Colombian coffee this morning. Holy moly, is it good. And as soon as I make it in a French press, so I boiled some water, it's super cool. It's like only 88 degrees right now. It'll be the coolest it'll be for a while. So I turned the stove on and boiled some water. And I don't boil the water, I get it to where there's bubbles forming on the metal, but not rising through the water yet. From back in my days, they told me that was the best way to make coffee, and whatever, it doesn't take as long to boil it, so I use that. So I got it to where I like the temperature of it, and I put it in a French press, which is basically just a big glass thing. Let's look at our French presses. Ugh, horrible internet. So that's a French press. Mine costs like $2, and it looks exactly like this. There's no difference, actually. Holy moly, there's no difference. And mine costs like $2. So, got a French press, boil some, well, I get water almost to a boil, and then I put in a generous amount today. This is, I haven't had coffee in a couple of days, just because it's been hot and I didn't want to boil water. So, I put a good amount of coffee in there, not overwhelming, but I put a good amount, more than I normally do because I'm super cheap. And, filled it up with hot water, a little bit above this little metal thing here. And then you let it set. You let it set for a bit. And wow, the aroma, I guess I shouldn't say smell, the aroma that came off of that, it's incredible. Really, really, really good. So it was frustrating to have to sit here having that going until I was able to actually drink some right now. Tastes as good as it smells. Colombian, the other stuff I've been drinking was Guatemalan, and there's a big difference. Holy moly. So this is very much like you walk into a pancake house or a breakfast place. This is what you're going to smell. This is the classic coffee smell. Folgers, I guess, Colombian. But just the aroma, like you could tell there was just so much more to it than your stuff that's in a can, packed in nitrogen for however long. And then this stuff, just, I guess he buys it as beans, roasts it, and then grinds it. And then he sent me a couple of bags of that. Holy moly, just big difference. Like going and getting a sheet cake, piece of crap out of the Walmart frozen section or refrigerated section versus going to like a French bakery and getting something made with like buttercream and Yeah, somebody knows what they're doing. That's the difference. So I'm enjoying some of that coffee right now. Thanks to DTP. He sent that to me. He's from over on Gun Channel, so I don't know if he's out there right now or not. But, I'm doing a morning chat. So I've got some work to do over on the Minuteman University site. That's what I've been working on here. And we're going to start listening now to Riding Shotgun with Charlie. This is Charlie. This is the guy riding shotgun with him. This is just the intro. We're going to end up listening to Chris Doherty. And he is a guy who was at the Gun Owner Action League's Concealed Carry Fashion Show wearing a kilt. So, I guess he's also an instructor at Mass Firearms School in Massachusetts. His wife had her firearms license and it was about to expire, so they suggested they go shooting. They took a learn to shoot course at Mass Firearms School, which turned into a license to carry course, and his wife realized this was going to be an expensive hobby. So they, I'm not going to read the whole thing here because he's about to describe it, so we're going to be talking to Chris Doherty, or listening to Charlie talk to Chris Doherty.
Well done.
And Charlie does these podcasts every couple of weeks. He drives around with a 2A guy. He's about to explain that, and he gave us the okay to rebroadcast them for projects like this one.
To Riding Shotgun with Charlie.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Today I have with me Chris Doherty. Chris, thanks for being on the show, brother.
My pleasure.
Now, Chris is an instructor here in Massachusetts. He's taught a lot of people, taught a lot of classes. You've been a model.
Yes.
You've been a model, uno momento. You've been a model in a couple concealed carry fashion shows, and you are the person that wears the tactical kilt, which you didn't wear today. Bring it. You said it smells bad. That's right.
Yeah, I worked for a class at the City, so it was quite sweaty, and the class that I worked for was very, very, very rainy. So I got to take it out of my range bag.
Oh!
Currently it's a smelly permit.
Right, it's like a science experiment, right?
Yes. It's in the wash. That's how bad it was. Yeah, most definitely. Lots of that.
All right, well, listen, tell us about yourself. How did you get started in gun stuff before you got to be an instructor and a tactical kilt wearing dude?
I was working at CPS at the time, and my wife Jen,
Hey, Jen.
was going through all of her paperwork, and her FID card was going to expire. She had gotten, because she had gone shooting with a few ex-boyfriends before me. So she said, oh, hey, I have this gun license. Just want to go shooting before this expires. And I said, sure, no problem. So when I went on about the introduction to shooting handguns in my rifle class for MFS, signed up for it, showed up, and they're like, oh, hey, if you don't want to take this class, it starts at roughly the same time. You get to shoot two of the same guns. Okay, fine, whatever. $40 more per person. No big deal.
Right.
But then you can get a license. And I guess what I always tell the story in class is during the first break, she looked over at me and said, crap, this is going to get expensive, is it? And I said, yeah, it's going to get expensive. So it's my wife's fault.
It's your wife's fault. That's great. That's great. My first ex-wife was on a collar. When I did a shooting, it was one of these things that I didn't grow up where shooting and wasn't anyway. But she said that when we were dating, she brought this up. Of course, I was like, oh, that's great. So she likes to, she used to like to ride games. So I hear you with that. I hear you.
Nice comment.
Absolutely. So she got you into this and then realized it's an expensive hobby.
Yes. Because I signed up for every single class I could take. Taking classes in Florida because we were down there and I had nothing at the time. Just came back from 3 days of the State Academy. So yeah, it's definitely becoming a very expensive hobby.
Now, did you have kids? Is this one of the reasons that you wanted to get a license and get to it before you started carrying?
has taken an interest in it. So I given her a water gun and just being the person I am. I was like, okay, well, here's this water gun. You get your finger off the trigger. Don't point the gun at anybody.
Right.
So gave her the whole spiel. So now anytime I water gun or anything that resembles a gun in her hand, you see her think for a second, have her finger off the trigger, and have her point it at anybody.
That's cool.
Young woman Hannah will not get that same treatment. She has high personality, so she's a little bit of fun.
Gotcha.
Lily's perfect.
Very cool. Very cool. You know, it really is important to teach kids how to be safe with guns because we know this gun guys as gun instructors. We want to teach you how to be safe, but
Oops, I think I might have had the link in here wrong, so I'm going to change this link.
and my concern is that my kids are going to go to someone's house and that person, my friend, your dad's a gun guy, you know where our dad's guns are, they take them out, who knows?
Yes.
Yeah.
My daughter heard you with, if she ever sees a gun, she's just going to come get me because I know what to do. So, good for me on that one.
That is good. That is good.
But she knows not to touch them. If she does come across one, God forbid she sees one at a school or something, she
Alright, sorry about that. It looks like I had the long link in there. I wasn't even in a Hangout. Sorry about that. I just looked over to see if anybody was in there. I wasn't even in there. So now there's a link over on Gun Channels, and you can use that link and jump into the Hangout that's open. Broadcasting this on XSplit, which I'm about to find out how much that cost me. I think it was like $44 because I got it on a coupon. Anyway, we're listening to Riding Shotgun with Charlie, and we're updating the 2A History Project, or the Minuteman University website, however you want to look at that.
She's just going to sit there and say, all right, I need to get my dad, everybody stay away. Not bad for almost 5 years old.
That's great. That is great. Now, let me ask you this. Are you concerned about having gun stuff come out at school for her? Right? Because this is one of these things.
All right, well, give you a good story on that.
Oh, I love it.
Daughter was in nursery school,
Nursery.
and, you know, conversations come up, okay, what does your mom do, what does your dad do? And I haven't heard anything from her, she knows exactly what I do.
Yeah.
I leave for work most days, have a gun on my hip, she definitely knows what I have. So I'm standing, getting ready to go get her from nursery school, go pick up, and there's 2 Bellingham police officers standing by the door. I was like, oh, crap. All right. So I walked up and I was like, you guys are here for me. And then went, maybe, who are you here for? I was like, I'm Lily's father, and you're here because she said something she shouldn't have said.
Oh my goodness.
They're like, yeah, she said you have guns. I lifted up my shirt, I was like, yeah, not on me. This is school. I'm obviously not going to carry a gun to school. That would be ridiculous. So I talked to them and they're like, okay, but just so you know, this conversation can come up again. So, good for them for being on top of that, but but it was very fun. Just huff on my friends. I know exactly what you guys are here for.
You guys are looking for me, aren't you? All right, so how long were you a gun guy before you decided to get to the point where you were going to be an instructor?
Probably say 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
That's what all the classes I could take. Zena Goldberg was my original instructor.
Cena
Goldberg.
Goldberg. Right, Cena.
And then took all the concealed carry and all those classes with Mac. And just really got to that point where I was like, you know what, I actually enjoy this. I was working at CBS and then a couple of banks at the time. So not exactly career-minded. Never went to college. Barely got out of high school. It's like a fun thing that will definitely give you your education. So that was like, I want to try doing this. So I emailed MFS. They weren't looking for anyone at the time. So I kept emailing them. Went out to Utah to become a Utah instructor. Tried to get myself more value.
Nice.
And then Orlando shooting the Pulse night.
Oh, yeah, 2016.
And then George called me and said, hey, can you teach a class Saturday night? And I said, yeah, sure, no problem.
Yes, sir.
So I mean, no interview or anything like like that. And she goes, hey, can you teach a class? Sure. And it's just been that since.
Yeah. So you teach the Utah class?
Utah, Connecticut, Massachusetts. You name it, I can teach it.
Very cool. Very cool.
Connecticut, we just had a
Yeah, so Connecticut. This is where I get. This is what's hard to explain to people is on some is that some states want have different requirements to get a license, and Connecticut's one of the classes of one of the states that requires live fire as part of the training.
Oh yeah, 50 rounds. 50 rounds.
But here's the scope. It doesn't say. This is what I get to It doesn't say what the requirement is. It just says it must have live fire as part of the curriculum class. So.
Not like Moon Island where it's just score target or Rhode Island. Because you know that's a fun one where you actually get scored and relate. Just 50 rounds of live fire. So pretty much get a box of 50 rounds of 22 LR, give the person an overview and a revolver, so just a jam, and just stand there and make sure they're safe. Wow. That's it. Brookline actually now is part of the 911 test, but they allow NRA instructors to administer the 911 test. So if you're from Brookline, you can take your test at NFS, and you don't have to go to 911, you can get it graded right then and there. That's all it's about.
So this is what I remember hearing when I was at this was cool. The Moon Island, the requirements for Moon Island are higher for the civilians than they are for the police officers. Is this true?
Yeah. That's what it is, 8 to 10. And I've had people that didn't break 100 their first couple times.
Yeah.
And obviously they can't get it done in practice. So I would tell them, hey, go to Walmart, get a cap gun, just get any little cap gun revolver just so you can get used to feeling some weight of that trigger.
Right.
And they got better. I mean, I definitely wouldn't give them an unrestricted license, but they ended up passing. I always ask people to tell me if they got that license, if they passed, if they failed.
Right. It's good to know. It's good to keep people on what people have to do.
What a shitty article. Are you kidding me?
Cool. How long have you been teaching classes?
Since I had done a couple of classes privately.
Yeah.
Just reaching out on social media before I quit that. But yeah, so I made like $1,000 a year just doing private classes. But that's not exactly going to feed the family.
Yeah.
So, luckily NFS called me. But always looking for other opportunities.
Yeah. Very cool.
When I can teach, I do very happy.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Alright, I think I finally found G Suite. So sweet.
Even the SIG event I had gone to was a SIG where they try to get retailers in.
Yeah.
They pretty much went for 3 days. Free hotel, free class, pretty much everything. It's free.
So you gotta set me up for this, man. I gotta know about this.
Yes, definitely. And they do it, I think, 4 or 5 times a year. All you have to do is be an instructor. You're one of those. So you're good.
Alright, I have to check that out.
Yeah, it was a pretty fun time.
So what kind of stuff did you do in the class? Like this, SIG had they have a bunch of classes.
Yeah, they give you a 4-class overview. One was shooting steel targets.
Yes.
Okay, fine. You can do pretty much anywhere. So I just took the overview for that class. I was signed up for that class. They had a 1,000-yard range where you should shoot obviously a rifle and try to hit a target at 1,000 yards, which I didn't do because both I don't have a rifle, and when am I ever going to need to shoot someone 1,000 yards away from me? That doesn't sound too self-defensive. They had low light shooting.
When will you need to stop shoot at someone 1,000 yardsy? what did you say, 1,000 yards? That doesn't sound too self-defense-y. Well, let's say that government thugs are coming to red flag you and your neighborhood, or maybe disarm all gun owners because it's gun confiscation time. And they're standing over here by that gray building, and you're over here in your front porch. Is that 1,000 yards? Yeah, in a general situation, somebody over there yelling and screaming about how he doesn't like your red shirt. Yeah, that's nowhere near a situation where you're ever going to use a 1,000-yard shot. But that's one instance where you'll need a 1,000-yard shot. You don't want to allow government thugs, a tyrannical government, to get close to anybody, especially your family and your stuff. So 1,000 yards would be good there. But let's say this wasn't a tyrannical government. Instead, this was, I don't know, strife or shortage or some other situation. And this is a horde of people that want your stuff. And this is just an angry, violent, arsonistic mob. And let's see, have we ever seen those before? Yes. And if that's the case, what's the best way? To stand there with a handgun in your pocket, in your doorway, or to be standing on your roof with your neighbors holding rifles? And that's where that 1,000-yard shot, I don't know, maybe there's somebody with a Molotov cocktail winging something. There's situations. And then you get to just the concept that when there's a rifle in that house, and that house, and that house, and that house, and in that gray building, that is the that's the antiseptic that doesn't allow a tyrannical government to exist. So you can't have the environment created by the safety of firearms, by the awareness that there's lethal consequences for infringements. You can't live in that environment and suggest that the firearms aren't necessary, because you then drastically change the environment we live in. Government is no longer concerned, threatened, or at any they wouldn't think twice to implement whatever they want to do. And to suggest that that's not the case, I guess you're happy with Trump. I guess you were happy with Obama. I guess you're happy with whatever gets voted in by the process. You don't think anything can fail? I'm not talking to you people, I'm talking just in generalities, but I don't know, if there was people in here, we would have discussion on that perhaps. Links around gun channels, so if you'd like, you can go to gun channels, scroll down about that far, click on that link, you'll go into this hangout, and then you'll have that conversation. But otherwise, yeah, 1,000 yards is not something that's only unreasonable, like on a trip to the mall or something.
In which I'm not a gun-like guy. I'm more of a spare flashlight just in case you need it type person. So I don't want that class. So the class I decided to take was bullets on vehicles, which was shooting at cars, seeing what goes through what doesn't. Dispel a few minutes of, someone's running from the police, why don't they just...
Let's talk about that one.
I just took you over for that class. I have to sign up.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. What kind of shooting do you like to do? Competitive shooting, IPA?
I have never done that because I am far too a competitive person. Even the SIG event I had gone to, it was a SIG chalk where they tried to get retailers in.
Yeah.
They pretty much put in for 3 days. Free hotel, free class. Pretty much everything I did. It was free.
So you gotta sign me up for this, man. I gotta know about these things.
Yes, definitely. They do it, I think, 4 or 5 times a year. All you have to do is be an instructor. You're one of those. So you're good.
All right, I gotta check that out.
Yeah, it was a pretty fun time.
So what kind of stuff did you do in the class? Because the SIGs had, they have a bunch of classes up there.
Yeah, they give you a 4-class overview. One was shooting steel targets, which, okay, fine, you can do pretty much anywhere. So I just took the overview for that class. I signed up for that class. They had a 1,000-yard range where you shoot, obviously, a rifle and try to hit a target at 1,000 yards, which I didn't do because I don't have a rifle, and when I'm ever going to need to shoot someone 1,000 yards away from me.
So it sounds like it's an instructor class. So having a class about steel is different than a class about paper, because you've got ricochets and you've got more. You're not shooting for accuracy. You're shooting for techniques and manipulations and stuff. You've got, you can emphasize more on the student than target, because you got a reactive target. You can hear a good hit. That gives the student an opportunity to move around and to engage in skills. So I would think as an instructor course, that would be pretty useful. But he said he took the introduction to that one, so that would at least give him some idea, perhaps. But then, as far as, I'm not going to tell anybody what to do as far as shooting, but don't disregard long-range shooting. It's a whole different realm, right? It gives you a whole different set of skills and stuff.
That doesn't sound too self-defensive. They had low-light shooting, which I'm not a gun-light guy. I'm more of a spare flashlight in case you need it. Type of person. So I don't want that class.
That's the one I wanted to go back and address. So I don't know this guy, but I'm going to rag on him. So low light is not some sort of like class where they get up and demonstrate flashlights for you or something. It's experience shooting in low light conditions. No light and dusk. There's lots of craziness in those hours between light and dark, where shadows and available light can really be an issue when you're shooting. So if you have an opportunity to shoot at a range that can turn lights on and off, or that can shoot into the evening, I would highly encourage you to take that opportunity. I'm not here to sell you lights. I don't give a shit if you buy a light or not. I think it's foolish to not have a light on your firearm, since we live in a time when accessory rails and competent flashlights exist affordably. But there's much more to it than the manipulation of it. However, there's certainly no rules as far as what works and what isn't. Now, if you're a cop or something, if you're tasked with a job and your firearm needs to have a light on it because you're potentially going to need your other hand for whatever job you're doing, that's one thing. I'm sure the SIG class covers that potentially, but more importantly, it's going to give you experience and some familiarity with not just the low light conditions, but now drawing, reholstering, and if you're the type that says, oh, I don't need a weapons light, instead I'm going to carry a flashlight, which is fine, always carry a flashlight. You need that 10,000 times more than you'll ever need a weapons light. But if you think you're just going to somehow have the savvy to manipulate a light in your offhand and shoot one-handed, you've now limited yourself. You're now shooting one-handed. Is your opponent shooting one-handed? Well, you don't know. Nobody knows. So if you're going to insist on training to where you're only going to you're going to need both hands and they're each going to be doing separate things, try rubbing your belly and patting your head. Try scratching your leg and tapping on the table. It's difficult for our hands to do separate things unless you're a musician or somebody that's experienced doing that a lot, or your brain just happens to allow your arms to work separately. But most people, that's not the case. You have sympathetic muscle, whatever that's called, where your arms are going to try to do the same thing. It's why we go to classes to learn a draw technique, so that we know that our other hand isn't getting in the way of our muzzle or in our face or punching ourselves in the mouth or something, which can happen under the stress and the surprise of having to deal with something like that. So anyway, the experience of dabbing a night class, I would highly recommend that not be disregarded by people. It's an experience that pretty much everybody I know who isn't into training has never experienced. You might have gone out into the desert or the woods or something and shot at night, but rarely do people go out and shoot extensively at night. When we were shooting hardcore, at least a couple of times a month we'd be out at night, and then start talking about at night you've got just as many varieties or situations, versions and stuff of gear and targets and everything that you can't just experience it and say, oh, I'm aware now. It's definitely a skill set like driving in the rain or in the snow or something that you only get capable with experience and with practice. But anyway, I just felt I'd go back and address that. So many people just shooting at night and dismiss weapons light as some sort of I don't know, in a capitalist society where this guy's wearing a watch and has sunglasses laying here 2 different shirts on. He's going to tell us that he doesn't appreciate a piece of property. Come on.
So last night, decided bullets on vehicles, which was shooting at cars, through cars, seeing what goes through what doesn't. Dispel a few minutes of, oh hey, if someone's running from the police, why don't they just shoot out the tires? Right, tires don't explode. I did.
I'll let this guy keep going. I've heard this interview before, but see, cars, I would put at the end of the experience level. I mean, I guess it's possible someone might need to have a situation in a vehicle, but most often you can get away in a vehicle, so it's not necessarily ultimate priority. There's not a high rate of people walking up and having gunfights in and out of vehicles. Talk about not having the justification. You know, if somebody's outside your vehicle, it's pretty difficult to justify why you'd shoot out. If somebody's inside a vehicle, there's certainly instances where it's appropriate, necessary to shoot into a vehicle, but again, when you're talking odds and stuff, I think nighttime happens every single day. All of us are involved in low light situations daily. I don't drive a car every day. I don't know if everybody else does, but again, I just wanted to throw that in there. I think vehicles are on the tactical side, on the extra, like after you've done other stuff, end of training. And there's not very many vehicle courses, and almost none I've ever experienced have been open to non-law enforcement. You can get into them, it's not impossible, but because of the situational whatever circumstances of in and out of vehicle firefights just not being a thing, most of the time those kind of skills and techniques aren't. Well, okay, here's another thing. This is what this guy's about to say about shooting out in and out of a vehicle. I personally have different experience with that. When the windshield broke on the truck, we took it out to the desert and shot the shit out of my own truck. So we know what it's like to shoot out of my truck, my old truck, shooting the shit out of it from the inside, and we didn't shoot into it, but we shot out of it from the driver and the passenger side. There are all kinds of things. You got steering wheels, you got seat belts, you got seats and consoles and stuff, and you don't have your elbow room that you normally have. So there's certain reasons to practice it, I suspect, but it's like going fishing to suggest that I went out with an experienced fisherman and learned a bunch of techniques and we were successful, therefore I know how to fish. It's ridiculous. You know a technique of fishing and you've experienced some things about fishing, but you haven't experienced all fishing. You could fish your entire life and still not experience all of fishing. You could shoot out of vehicles for a living. It could be your job. Some kind of witness protection, or what would that be, some executive security or something, and still not be, still wouldn't suggest that you know everything. So when we're talking about the curbs and stuff, the glass and the bullets, now maybe he was shooting 9mm, that's why his bullets were going all over the place, but we shot everything. We didn't shoot 22 because we were afraid of ricochets, but we shot everything from maybe 380 up to 7.62 by 39 and 5.56 out the windows. So none of our nothing. If we shot at a steel target from inside the passenger seat or inside the driver's seat to outside the vehicle, we had a bunch of steel targets set up, different places. Every single one dead on hit. So I understand that people have had experiences otherwise, but I'm just gonna throw out there that I personally had experience where you shoot at something and it goes right to where you're shooting. It does sometimes take 2 bullets to dig a hole in your windshield. The first shot will usually go to where you're hitting, but second shot for sure is where you're hitting what you're hitting.
There with a 9mm round, it took 15-20 minutes for that tire to lose all its air.
Wow.
And I was told to shoot the tire, just to clarify.
Yeah, and shooting tires. Nobody's ever had a nail in their tire. Why would you think a tire is going to explode or pop? That's movie stuff there.
Yeah, because one of the gentlemen in the class said, "Oh, why don't police just shoot a tire?" I'm kind of smart. I said, "I don't think that works." And the instructor was like, "All right, Chris." Okay, sure, no problem. So I shot the tire. Sure enough, you hear all the air escaping. Then it starts to slow down because the tire plugs itself.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, tires do not blow up if you shoot them.
All right. Good to know this.
Yes.
Good to know this. What about shooting through cars?
Thanks for the $4. I won't see that for a long time, but appreciate the gesture.
Car doors?
Depending on the caliber and round, some will go through, but some won't. A lot of modern cars have that, automatic door lock and automatic window,
Right.
which the motor for those stops a lot of handgun rounds.
Really?
So there were quite a few times where I was shooting at a door and literally the round didn't penetrate the door.
Wow.
Again, I'm a wise ass. I was like, how the hell is that not possible? I'm shooting a handgun round through a door. And then when the guy explained, the mechanics of it's got every internal part and the motor, I was like, makes sense now. Okay.
That makes sense.
Don't get me wrong, three blackout, supersonic. Oh, that went through the door. That went through a lot.
That's cool. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's definitely a class that I would sign for right now.
I tried turning down the volume, so thanks Russ for that feedback. Let me know if it's still having that issue. I turned the volume on the computer down a little bit.
To shoot at car windows.
Oh yeah.
That's how the bullets deflect in different ways, right?
Oh, that thing. The windshield, it's definitely, but it's possible.
Of a learning curve.
Yeah, because we're all taught rear sight, front sight, middle of the target.
Right.
But if you're going through a windshield, it's pretty much rear sight, front sight, a foot and a half above the target. Because it's going to deflect down.
Wow. And it goes through the window?
Yep.
Wow, that's pretty wild.
And obviously for out a window, it's opposite, so you have to be lower. That one, I'm going to be honest with that.
You guys know he's in his car though. Is it the car noise that you're hearing? Or maybe it's this fan. I probably don't need this fan. Turned off a fan that's right next to the computer.
Yeah.
Okay. All car doors, and then you just car. Protection or not,
Oh,
that's loud. But
You know what else is interesting about shooting in a car? Now, this might not apply to people that don't live in dust or whatever, but the first couple, well, every single round actually, but the first couple were the worst. When you shoot a round off in a car, windows up or down, I don't think it probably matters. Everything on the dashboard and everything in your vents up there, the intakes, there's a heck of a lot of crap and dust and shit in there, and you're going to know about it because it's just instantly vaporized or whatever. It's just instantly thrown everywhere. So have an ear pro we knew about, have an eye pro we knew about. We ended up having to wear scarves around our mouths though, because the amount of just lead and shit, normally that stuff dissipates pretty quick in just air, but when you've got an enclosed environment with just a bullet hole through a windshield, there's now all that, everything exhaust from that gun is staying in the car, and you just threw up dust from everywhere in that car. It just, the shock wave probably physically picks it up, and then I don't know, it just was everywhere. It was like just like being in a fog of just gross filth. So that's another thing to be aware of if you shoot in a car, especially somebody else's. It's going to be gross really quick, really fast, and it doesn't go away. I guess maybe if you're driving it would go away.
Yeah, that'd be loud.
it was a good time. Everyone should go to State Academy and take those classes. They're fun.
Cool. Yeah, so
Been invited to that SIG Academy too. It's just that it's way the hell out east, so I can't ever get to it. But only heard good things about it. It's law enforcement level, not military, but law enforcement level, from what I understand, and obviously applies to civilians or instructors. And if you have an opportunity, I've only heard good things about the school.
it's a program they have for instructors.
Yeah, it's the same chalk event. Literally, they just took the military thing of putting chalk on someone's helmet and adapted it for their own usage. But yeah, any instructor can sign up for that event, and it's a blast.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
And they pay for it, so free stuff is the best stuff.
Bonus. I like to say it tactically.
Oh yeah.
Rather than being cheap.
All right. Well, then what it probably is, if it's not any of those fixes, is it's because I'm running the XSplit software over here, and all it's doing right now is displaying my one desktop, right? So I'm going to put this over on my other monitor, and then I've also got this Hangout. Now nobody's in the Hangout, so I'll close the Hangout. and we'll go over to gun channels and we'll kill that link, so nobody jumps in there and sits in there by themselves and gets all butthurt. So we'll delete that link. And we'll delete that link. And now there's no Google Hangout running since nobody was joining anyway. And now it'll just be my feed, which is this, and all these windows that I've got open. That's the only thing else I got open. So it's just a bunch of tabs over here, and I don't need this tab anymore, and I don't need that tab. So we'll see if this is better. Thanks for the feedback.
That's all right.
If it's free, it's for me. If it's true, give me 10.
That's nice. Cool, man. So, you've done the concealed carry fashion shows for the last couple of years.
Yes.
How did you get roped into that? Why did you decide to wear a tactical kilt?
First year, it was Mandy Devono. I had reached out to her, asking if they needed anything on behalf of MFS. And she said, "Oh yeah, sure, anything you can get would be helpful." So I got them to donate a bunch of concealed carry one gift certificates.
Cool.
And then at the last minute, she said, "Oh hey, I need another model. Do you mind modeling?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." And jokingly, I said, "I have a kilt. Do you want me to wear that?" And the chipperness in her voice, when she's like, "Oh yes, do that." I was like, "Oh, I just got myself in trouble."
What did I just do?
So when it came up again this year, I was like, "Well, I'm just going to assume I'm wearing my kilt again."
It would be safe to assume.
And the person running was like, "Oh yeah, you're doing that." But I had planned to rip the kilt off like I did without Gold knowing about it. It was just going to be my own little joke. However, I brought it up during run through the fashion show,
Right.
and there were 20-something people in the room, and they took a vote of, "Oh hey, should Chris rip his kilt off?" And everybody said yes, and I was like, "Really? No one's gonna say, hey, no, probably shouldn't do that?"
Right.
So, yeah, I got some model underwear for that one, which I normally wouldn't wear wearing a kilt.
Wait a second.
Yes.
Oh, glad.
Normally, kilts are worn just nothing underneath.
Right. Well, there we go.
But I don't think Gold would appreciate that.
Yeah. You probably could have made a couple of extra bumps and some tips.
I was hoping for that. But I'll be honest, that second one, the night before that, I had checked myself into the ER. I had a 102-degree temperature. I was not in a good way.
Wow.
Virus that was working itself through me.
Oh, man.
So I literally looked at my wife. I was like, I called out of work the last 2 days. Should I even bother doing this fashion show?
Yeah.
And she looks at me and said, "Well, you made a commitment, didn't you?" It's like, "Oh, yes, I did." So literally went to the ER, got fluids, all that fun stuff, to keep semi-hydrated. And literally kept to myself that entire event. I didn't talk to anybody. I hope they didn't think I was being, standoffish, but I just wanted to pretty much be alone at that point in time. But I had promised to rip the kilt off, so I had to do that.
That was pretty cool. What were you wearing underneath it? What were you wearing and what were you carrying underneath it?
I had on a pair of Undertech undercover, I don't even know, underwear holsters. I'm not sure exactly what they call it, but Blockstore.com had donated those.
Very cool.
Mainly because I told them what my plan was, and they thought it was funny.
Right.
But I had a SIG 938 in the back of it, I think.
Nice.
I gotta be honest, it's still quite a blur to me. I don't really know a lot about it.
Yeah, I guess being sick would take a phone with it.
Yes, definitely. I would have been a lot more entertaining if I was healthy.
It worked a little bit more. I'm going to have to dig up some of the pictures
Oh,
from the video. That'd be cool.
I'm all for that.
Very cool, very cool.
I'll have to have my wife share them because I just took myself off all of social media.
Ah, look at you, brave soul.
I just found myself looking down at my phone too much, and literally in one of the classes I teach, I make fun of people walking around looking at their phone, and I caught myself doing it. Well, I can either say I'm a hypocrite and say I, look down at my phone while walking, or stop doing that. So I stopped doing that. Much easier.
Cool. say this. I kind of dig it because it makes me feel like I still have friends. And then when you do hear from them, you can be like, hey, I saw that you just, whatever, came back from a trip or vacation or whatever. So, it's not so bad.
That's where I friends. So I got sick of all the fake friends of, oh, yeah, we went to high school together 20 years ago. Oh, yeah, good. You're going to wish me a happy birthday. I haven't talked to you in 20 years. I don't care.
Right. Yeah, I hear you on that too.
It definitely has its place, but I'm just not social enough for it.
Gotcha. That's all right. That is quite all right.
As bad as that sounds.
All right, it is that time where I say, if you had to take a new person or an anti-gun person shooting, what would you tell them to convince them that gun folks are regular folks?
Great one for that one. Obviously, carrying a gun, I learned also to be pretty good about first aid. So my daughter had a gymnastics class, and there was a girl, probably 4 or 5 years old, that came in late to the class, and her mother had accidentally shut the door on the girl's fingers. Oof. So kid starts crying. The people that were running the gym hesitated a little bit too much for me. So I just got up, ran, grabbed my kid, started taping the girl's fingers, making sure she was okay, had them get a popsicle for her. But in the frenzy, my shirt had lifted up, and I was obviously carrying a gun on me because that's what I do.
Yeah.
And one of the mothers looked at me and said, "Oh my God, I can't believe you carry a gun." Meanwhile, I had just helped this poor little girl out.
Right. I also carry a first aid kit now.
I was like, "Okay, well, why can't you believe that?" She said, "Why do you need a gun?" I said, "For personal defense." And she goes, "Well, what could come up?" I was like, "Okay, ma'am, what's the top speed on your car?" She goes, "I think my speedometer goes to 140. Why?" I go, "Speed limit's 65. You shouldn't need to do more than 65.
Right.
And she goes, "Well, what if there's an emergency?" I'm like, "Exactly."
Right.
And that's literally, you could see a light bulb flash in her head where she was like, "Oh, well, I guess you're right." So literally just emergencies. That's what it boiled down to.
Right.
I don't know if that lady went and got her license, but she definitely got off the whole guns are bad thing.
What if there's an emergency?
Yeah.
Yeah, I read something recently that said that when there is, one of the things that people are concerned about is that concealed carry holders are going to shoot someone accidentally. But I don't know who did the study, I'm not sure where I read it, but they said that's never happened. Never shot an innocent bystander.
Well, I'm sure it's happened at some point. I mean, Boston bombing, there were over 3,000 rounds fired, and I think 2% of those rounds hit their targets. So
This is with the armed civilians, not the police officers.
So people are gonna miss no matter what, especially, I mean, there's tons of people who go to the range and lay their stuff on the table and slowly breathe, take their shots. Okay, good. You're a target shooter.
Right.
Unless you're gonna actually train like you're going to have to, you're not helping yourself. So when I go to the range, I'll be a jerk. I'll run, I'll do jumping jacks, I'll do something to get my heart rate going. And then I'll shoot my first rounds usually right from the hip, right out of my holster, because in a real world scenario, you're not going to use sights.
Right.
Second round, same thing, not using sights. Third round,
You can't even imagine. So I know there's people that go with this philosophy. If we go over to the Minuteman University project and we go to the resource side of it and we go to firearms instructors, firearms training is nothing new. In 1840, General Wingate and others started the NRA, and he was a firearms instructor in 1840. So in 1874, you got McGivern. Those guys were exhibition shooters, so they were Miklicks, right? Miklick doesn't use sights because Miklick shoots all the time, and he just is an extension of his fingers, right? Now you get into Sykes and Fairborn, they have nothing to do with anything. Gus Perot, I don't know what that guy's name is. He was another exhibition shooter, and he taught Applegate. So Applegate is guy who helped create the OSS. You got Keith, who is the hell was he? He was 44 Magnum guy, but he also, you can tell by that picture, these guys shoot from the hip. Like that's old time stuff. So there's definitely schools of thought on that. And then there's somebody that's way newer, and I'm trying to look through here to figure out who it is, but I'm not going to remember the name. But there's definitely somebody who still goes with that concept of training to point shoot. And wow, I mean, I've never experienced an instruction with that. There's some places in Arizona that do it, and I've thought about it, or I wanted to do it and never was able to, only because I couldn't get up there to do it ever. But I'm aware of it. But this guy seems to think that the point shooting is the way it is. I don't agree. I know from experience that you see front sights and you remember front sights. You might not remember a lot of other things, but you remember front sights, and you get stories from, what do they call them, after action reports and stuff. People remember focusing on that front sight. It's one of the reasons it's instructed that way, so that in times of crisis you fall back to your basics, right? Anyway, this guy's a very different opinion on it.
Stuff on the table and slowly breathe, take their shots. Okay, good. You're a target shooter.
Right.
Unless you're going to actually train like you're going to have to, you're not helping yourself. So when I go to the range, I'll go jerk, I'll run, I'll do jumping jacks, I'll do something to get my heart rate going. And then I'll shoot my first round usually right from the hip, right out of my holster, because in a real world scenario, you're not going to use sights.
Right.
Second round, same thing, not using sights. Third round, okay, fine, maybe now I'm using sights.
Right.
And then fourth through, well, Massachusetts, so 10,
Fourth or 10, unless you have a pretty bad.
are obviously using sights. But
Right.
a lot of people don't train that way, and it's pretty much just a disservice to themselves, because God forbid anything happened, they're going to rely on, okay, I have to have my arms all the way out,
Right, all the way
close an eye.
Right, circulate my body sideways.
It's not going to happen that way. So,
Yeah, that's pretty wild. Pretty wild. It's pretty cool to train that way. There are some places that will let you draw from the holster, unless you're like I belong to a club that you can draw from the holster outside, but you can't if you're on the inside.
that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Place I work doesn't really care too much, as long as we're being safe about it.
Right.
I mean, I've seen people reholstering with their fingers still in the trigger well. I'm like, yeah, but you can't draw from the holster anymore.
Right.
Because you're just going to hurt yourself or somebody else, and I don't want to be here for that. But if you've taken a couple of classes, especially with myself, and I have trust and faith in you, then sure, as long as you're not getting out of your bay or shooting across lanes, do whatever you want.
Right. Is there a holster draw class? Is that something you go through? I know because I know there's a number of concealed carry courses, and I assume at some point drawing from the holster comes up to one of those.
Yeah, it's concealed carry 2, I believe, is drawing from the holster and then taking a step left or right. But you could also do that with private range time. I've had plenty of people come in and just say, hey, I want to work on real world scenarios.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Let's do that. And if the range is available, yes, I'll have them go down range and actually act like they have to shoot something instead of just slowly breathing. No, just I'll semi-stretch you out. Just say, okay, now draw. See how quickly they can move their concealment garment and put shots on paper. And people will be disheartened. Oh, it's not a bullseye. It's not going to be a bullseye. That's all right. If you're shooting bullseyes under stress, you have a long time to train.
Right. Or you get a lot of time.
Yes.
Maybe too much.
A little bit of both.
Right. Yeah. I think it's kind of cool. I've seen some people say that if you're defensively shooting, you're practicing to shoot defensively. If the shots are too far apart, you're moving too fast. If they're too close together, you're moving too slow. So they got to go like the size of that. Size of your hand, the card.
Too much of a ball.
Follow.
If you
Volleyball.
center a target, just imagine something the size of a volleyball Because at that
Holy
point, you're still
moly.
getting major
Flesh, right.
So sure, if it's all the way to the right, maybe you're just going to get skin and muscle. But anything in the middle, you have large intestine, small intestine, stomach, lungs. You're going to get something that will slow your attacker down.
Gotcha.
It's not like Halloween where someone's going to take 6 shots to the chest and get up like Myers. Sorry, I just had the last week off, so just pretty much movie time.
Movie time. That's all right. That's all right. I have not seen any movies.
They're intriguing, but they don't follow a pattern.
I do think it's interesting that Jamie Lee Curtis is an anti-gun folk, yet she uses a gun in the movie, doesn't she?
Yes.
I remember when it came out, reading some stories about that.
I guess Matt Damon is anti-gun. He's Jason Bourne.
Right, but he's totally for using guns in movies.
It's really easy to be anti-gun when you can hire security.
Right.
But when you actually need it, yeah, then you probably want one. I would much rather have it on you and never need to use it.
Oh, absolutely.
Than be in a situation where I'm like, oh, I'd rather just have my gun right now.
Could be awful.
But even in that situation, I have pepper spray or something else. Because I'll be honest, my gun's going to be the last thing I go for because I know the ramifications.
Oh my gosh.
I know I'm going to have a loss. I know that that person himself or their family is going to sue me. So I would much rather pepper spray you, watch you cry for an hour and a half, and then just
Pepper spray you again? Oh man.
That's the worst.
I always tell people when I teach classes, I say, God forbid you ever have to use your gun. You're going to get arrested. You're going to jail. They're going to confiscate you. They're going to take your gun license. And you're going to buy an entirely new house. Just to prove that you're justified using a firearm.
I did a lot of research, and somebody just unholstering their firearm, it's going to be between $10,000 and $40,000 in legal fees. Wow! I would much rather pepper spray.
Yeah.
Now that being said, I would much rather be tased than pepper spray because pepper spray hurts. That's why pepper spray is the first thing I go for.
Have you been pepper spray?
Oh,
Really?
I mean,
Where?
down in Florida. I took the class to become a pepper spray instructor.
Gotcha. Saber?
Yeah.
I did that too, but I didn't have pepper spray.
Oh, pepper spray.
Wow. I thought of auctioning off the opportunity to pepper spray just to see how much money they bring in.
Oh, you would want at least 3 fingers for that because it hurts so bad.
Yeah, I thought of auctioning off the opportunity to pepper spray Charlie. Auctioning off to my enemies.
Enemies? What sounds an enemy and ride shotgun with Charlie?
I'm sure there'd be a long list.
Right. I'm raising money for a charity. I'm going to get pepper spray. I'd like to do it just to cross it off the list.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, it's been done.
So Russ is saying that point shooting is fun, but I have to say once I learned how to point, your target acquisition gets much faster using sights. Exactly. I mean, the concepts of it are, what do they call it? Body mechanics, articulation. It's, understanding how your skeleton works and why guns look the way they do. They had all the time in the world to develop them guns, and they don't look like a big letter C. They don't look like a letter T. They don't look like a coffee cup. They look like a gun. The reason they look like a gun is because, again, these people had all the time in the world to figure out how our shoulders and our hips and our holsters and everything else work, and all we've been doing is evolving on that. But yeah, you can certainly, look at Mick, look at any of these guys, you can certainly just draw out of the holster, do a 90-degree pivot there, and just shoot right there and be ultimately effective, ultimately accurate, ultimately faster than anyone else, because you're not going through all that time. But it's a whole bunch of assumptions there that you're going to perform up to your standard at that point. And there's certainly people that have and can. But once you've figured out the principles of it, apply them to creating a sight picture. I just can't imagine going into a court of law and having either have a video or witnesses describing a point shoot type of situation. Nope. You definitely want, I would suspect you'd rather have an opportunity to describe to the jury or the court, you're focusing on that front sight and what was going through your mind. It slows down. You definitely have a lot of, what do they call that? Like you got some kind of a flood of some kind of adrenaline or something, and time seems to work differently, and you have all the time in the world to remember, or you remember a lot of the little stuff when you're actually when it's a critical situation like that. Anyway, I just can't imagine, again, with the cameras and witnesses and stuff, why you'd rely on that. Having the ability is one thing, having the skill set necessary, but yeah, exactly. And that's one of those things you can do with dry practice, right? Is just to draw and acquire sight, then open your eyes. Draw, acquire sight, and then open your eyes. Draw, acquire sight, open your eyes. That's how you do it, right? It's just back in the day, if you had a lot of ammo, you could do it out in the range or out in the desert. It's almost over.
I've got video to prove it.
Then Johnson's No More Tears revision, because you're hearing about that.
This is good to know.
In fact, the class I took down in Florida, I had taken Max Pepper's class up here first, which is where I got that Johnson's No More Tears trick. So it was me and 10 or 11 guys. They pepper sprayed all of us, and everybody immediately put their hands in their eyes. And I was like, yeah, I got sucks, and I don't want to touch my eyes. Right. I just want this guy to stay okay, we don't clean up. So I'm just sitting there biting my lip. Oh, this is the worst thing. This is the worst thing ever. And I'm looking around through my blurry vision. Everyone's touching my eyes. I was like, I know that's a bad thing to do. So sure enough, I'm like, okay, guys, go ahead. Go shower up. I had my No More Tears shampoo. So I put that on my face, washed my hair, rinsed it bad first. And then I looked at myself, the instructor just like half looking at us all weird. I was like, what's wrong with you? And he goes, why are you washing your hair that way? Because I know if I wash it down, I'm going for that ride again. I'm not doing that. Right? And he goes, everyone else just did that. So, well, that's their fault. So, yeah, I got out of that class, I finished 2 hours early because I was back to normal. So, yay. Yes.
How is that?
Not as bad.
Really? It's like, oh.
Yeah, it's quick. You're tased, your muscles lock out, but then you're fine. So that one, I have a stun gun that if I'm going to a place where I can't carry a gun, I'll bring that. The only way I'm using that is if someone gets me from behind and puts me in a chokehold, because in that situation, my life's not dangerous to using a gun. And I don't want to pepper spray because my face is right there too. So don't want to do that. So now I'm just use a stun gun just to create some separation. Yeah, I don't want to pepper spray. But yeah, I took an online class to instructor with that. And the guy just kept repeating, you should know what it feels like, you should know what it feels like. So I was like, okay. So I took my taser out, and I was like, this is suck. Tased my leg walked out, and I was like, okay, that's done. I'm not in pain anymore, so.
Right.
I don't think this guy used a taser. He's conflating taser and what do you call, like a stun gun.
So when pepper sprayed and tased, and I would much rather be tased. I don't know about pepper spray ever again. Which is why that's the first thing they reach for. I know it's the most pain to whoever is at 10. Which was with 2 young daughters.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. I think it's good that we no longer have to have government permission in order to carry a pepper spray here in Massachusetts.
So your teaching is
right. 15 in your FID card, which, yeah. My kids both got their FID cards when they turned 15. I just saw a video yesterday of I'll never be able to find it.
Alright, I'm sick of waiting for that guy. So, now I got the page pretty much as I'm going to do right now. Now I can publish it, right? I need to post it onto the site. So I'm going to go over and do a couple of things. I'm going to post it with a template so that it doesn't just show up like a single column. It'll have the other stuff down the side and visually. And then I'm going to put it in the hierarchy of the rest of the pages. So WordPress is a website software system that are blog posts that are organized by pages. So there might be a page on bakery and a page on breakfast foods and a page on Chinese food or something. You know, then you're going to have your blog posts on those pages. So you're going to have posts organized by pages. So we have all these different pages in here, and this website is organized by skills and resources. So this is a skill set portion of it, and I was debating earlier if I was going to put it under communication or if I was going to put it under the kind of general heading of creating firearms content. So it's definitely a skill. I guess you could call it creating firearms content. We have one there for what software to use. I think that's probably the best place to put it, is right next to what software to use. Otherwise it's guns on social media, which is more theory and practice than tech, step-by-step on a new concept like this. Firearms photography, it's certainly not that. Although it might be kind of video, it's really not. Building online projects, funding your projects, so I think that's a little bit more like the nuts and bolts of how to get it accomplished, and this is just one feature. And then, like I say, communications, which it could go over there. In fact, I could put it under both on the menu, actually. But for the actual where it's going to live on the website, I think I'm going to put it under creating firearms content next to what software to use. So now when I publish it, that's where it's going to get set down in the list. Now, what does that matter? Nothing, because if you're out on the website, it's there. It's just that there's nothing on the website that points to it in any of the menus. There's no links to it yet because it's brand new. So that's the next step. So now I need to go in and work on the menus. So that's under appearance and then menus. If I click on the right one, menus. And the menu here is basically the same version of what we're seeing over here. Oops, over here. Well, on this side, not this. This over here on the right. So this is all the different pages on the website, or at least the pages in the order that hopefully is useful. See, it's under skills. Man, I can't get it to highlight just what I want. Skills is that portion of the menu. Resources is, let's say, this portion of the menu. So although this is just one big column, if we go up to the very top of the page, that same menu is listed here in a drop-down format. So you've got the home, you've got skills, you've got resources way down here, you've got resources, and then under resources on this column, you get way down to about us and a bunch of different pages down here that have to do with about us. And that's the last column you see up here. So then those drop downs are the subcategories. So under resources or under skills, we go to firearms content, and then right now that's where we want this to be, creating firearms content, but we don't have it in the list yet. So we'll go over to the menus, and we're going to go to live 2A conversations over here on the left. This is a list of all the pages, all the more than pages. This is a list of all the resources that the website has. This happens to be the last thing we did, so it puts it right at the top. Makes sense, right? They know you're about to include it in your menu. So now we'll say add it to menu. So you can do whatever you want to stage stuff over here. I could pick a couple of different ones if I needed to. If I had added more than one page recently, I could add them to the menu all at the same time. But I'm just going to pick the one. I'll say add to menu. And now you can't tell, but it just added to the bottom of this list here. And this list is a WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. That means that you can wiggle this little guy on the screen, and that's where it's going to end up in the menu. So if we look right now under skill set, creating firearms content, you've got building an online project, creating a website, and then funding your project and photography and stuff. So we don't see anything in here yet about live conversation. So now we're going to take this live conversation and we're going to scroll up the menu here. and there's a lot of stuff in this menu, so I gotta scroll quite a way. Alright, and now we get to creating firearms content. So I'm going to stick it there for now, and if I were to save it, it's going to be super easy to find. It's going to be the first thing under creating firearms content now. So if we go up to skills and creating firearms content, oh, I guess I need to refresh over here. So now a refresh means that my browser went out to the internet and grabbed a new copy of the website off of the server. And now when I go over skills and creating firearms content, the new menu, the new refreshed menu, has live conversations in it. And at the same time, since it's the same menu, I guess I should have scrolled down too far, we would see live 2A conversations over here too. So a couple of things. I can see that it's too long. If I would have called this page live 2A chat, it would not take 2 lines over here in the menu. That's not a big priority, but it's something to be aware of. And otherwise, I just don't like it right at the top there. So next I'm going to go over to menu. I just dropped it there as an example, so I'm going to now move it again. Just click on it and drag it, and it kind of shows where it's going to go. So it's not as important as building online projects. It's certainly not as important as a 2A website, but I'm going to put it above funding. So all I really did is move it down a couple of notches, and then I'll save. I'll need to refresh this page again because I just refreshed the page on the server. That means my browser isn't up to date. If I went over here and looked, it's still in the first slot. Once I refresh and it goes and grabs a new copy of the website off of the server for me, it's going to be the third one. So now we can get to that page we just created and take a look at what it looks like from the outside. So if we go back to the page itself, and now I'm going to the, what is this thing? The dashboard, and I'm going to all the different pages. So it's posts made up of pages, and we're going to find that one that we just created there, and it was live 2A something or another. So as we scroll through the list here, we'll eventually find it, live 2A conversations. So now when we click on that, it opens up an edit page, so we can edit that video. And while we were going to edit it, so we were looking at I don't know what I was going to do to edit it. Yeah, there's nothing to do to edit it. So I was just going to show you that's how you can edit it if you need to, I guess. Alright, so next thing I want to do is look at the main page of the website, and I do have a couple of sort of menus, like some directions here on the front, like, hey, this is a big website and it's full of stuff, so here's some of the things you can look at. And I think this doesn't go under resources, it should go under skill set, and it probably should be, you know, same kind of thing, somewhere in this area of this bullet list. But this isn't pulled from a database like the menu happens to be, so we're not going to go find a we're not going to be able to go find a menu WYSIWYG or an editor for the menu for this. This is just a page. So instead I'm going to understand that this is a website, that it's a bunch of pages, excuse me, a bunch of posts organized by pages, and this happens to be one of the pages. So I'm just going to go up and edit this page now. So this is more like a hardwired thing. When you edit a page like this, it's a one and done. Like, I'm doing it and it's done. So I'm going to find that section of the page that I wanted to alter or whatever, and I'm going to stick it here under guns and social media. So I'll just hit enter. Oops, that's the wrong thing. I need to type in live 2A conversations, and then highlight that, make it a link, and that's where I wanted to paste that link in. So now when I update this page, in other words, send it up to the server, and we go to the main page of the website, which was what that was, we can go down and see that the live 2A conversations is sort of hardwired in here. So when I'm saying hardwired, I went in and I opened this page, I edited this specific page, and I put that link in there. Right? The difference would be if I went to my dashboard and I went to the menu section of my dashboard and I make a change to this menu. This menu is delivered to the pages and can be updated here and distributed to many, many pages. So this particular page, the main page that we just edited, and I added the link here, hardwired that link there. That's one page and one link, but every single page on the website is going to have this toolbar on it. It's going to have this menu in it. So if I make a change to the menu, it's actually affecting every single page on the website. So it's much more efficient, but it's not applicable to everything. I wouldn't want to put that entire list here on the front page, for example. I do kind of have it over here on the side. It's being delivered over here, but you know, layout-wise, humans know that when something's over here on the right like this in a separate column, that's part of the same thing, but it's not what they're focusing on, and that's this main section here. So that's why you kind of hardwire some parts of your site, and then you let other parts of your site be, I don't want to call it automated, but more dynamic, meaning that you use databases to hold the information and then call the information as the website or the web page is displayed. So it's a much more efficient way of it, not necessarily always the perfect way or the only way to do something. Now the disadvantage to hardwiring like this, if for whatever reason I go in and I need to delete that page, I get sued and I need to get rid of that page, it turns out that it's so much good information on that page, they get rid of the NFA, we just don't need this website anymore. So at that point I would delete this. This would always be here. I could go into the menu and delete it, and it wouldn't be in any of the menus anymore, but it would always be here. So the disadvantages to hardwiring a link, or putting in a specific link like that, you just got to kind of keep track of them, and then periodically manicure your site, maintain your site, and kill links like that might be outdated or bad. And that can be a lot of work when you start thinking about links to other sources of information that aren't yours. There might be some valid piece of info on a website out there, like carry.org used to be. There must be a billion links out there to carry.org from the early days of the internet. It's not there anymore, but all those links still point to it, and that's because people haven't gone through their websites, figured out that whatever link might be broken, and then removed the link. It's not necessary. It's the worst that's going to happen is somebody's going to click on it and figure out that the website's not there, waste a moment of their time. So it's not the worst consequences ever, but it's how you keep a website tidy. I gotta go stop it. Just over here. If I ain't got roof leaks, I got water drips. Pipes leaking. Alright, so one of the things I wanted to do this morning was set up the stuff for live streaming. There's a lot to it, and I don't try to make this an instructional manual as much as just a general awareness type of thing. We've got people in the 2A media community who are old as old and are still kicking. They never know. Somebody's old and decides, I'm going to figure out this internet. And they figure it out in an afternoon because it's that easy. And then they start digging around. If they need some basic help, that's what this is here for. Maybe there's new kids coming online or just figuring this stuff out. They don't have a big brother or sister to show them the ropes. So this is just a basic description of the concept with a couple of different suggestions here with no links or anything right now. It's just to give people a basic understanding of what we're talking about when you hear this, like going live or doing a live show. So I just added it to the skill set portion, and that's pretty much what the whole thing of the skill set portion is. Just in general, building online projects, specifically building a site, like even more specifically, here's one that's even more specific to building a WordPress site, which is what I'd recommend. They're very common and very easy to work with. I just added this live conversations. Funding is important and actually crucial. I'm getting kind of frustrated with this necessity for all pro 2A activists to be either somehow self-funded, like Pincus, who's constantly working in order to be able to do 2A stuff constantly. And that's just not possible for people. Most people, or to need to just do it in your free time, and that's awesome. But I don't want to doom our freedom. I don't want to doom the planet to have hobbyists defend our freedoms. So I'm hoping to amplify the funding side with other people who are much more successful than I am with it. But to keep that focus, that we as capitalists and free market participants shouldn't be afraid. We should be masters of funding these projects. There's so many resources out there that that shouldn't be a barrier to freedom, that some people desperately want to participate and just aren't able to. So anyway, I've included funding. Photography is important, as well as videos, and then we've got the social media thing, which is sometimes, again, a bit of a maze or confusing. So again, we just did some basic stuff here. That's real basic. I haven't even finished that, so there's more work to do there. And then finally, some software stuff. I found some really interesting alternatives to the expensive software and listed them here. And ideally, as we go forward with projects like the 2A workshops or open discussions and stuff, my internet's fine. It's my computer that couldn't handle having the rooms open. So I'll eventually get some bigger computers here. I can sell some stuff and get some bigger computers. And then once I have a couple of, like a bigger laptop, we should be able to do these live chats and stuff as a panel over on Gun Channels here. And I'll leave it with that, I guess. Gun Channels is a community. It's focused on firearms. It's built for shooters, and it's built by us, so it's not some kind of exploitive, we know that there's a bunch of people over here with money, and I bet you we can exploit them. None of that. There's a cost to join, so that it just doesn't have every anonymous troll account on the planet using it. There's not a lot of expense to the place, so there's not a lot of charge, and it's a place for conversations, not just like this one, but for actual participatory conversation. This was more of a workshop, I guess, without any participants. But if you're interested in the conversation on guns, if you're interested in getting through to the next generation of voters and the next generation of Second Amendment advocates and the next generation of shooters, then feel free to join in. It's not the only option, certainly not the best option, but it's an option. There's a huge family of people in the community here on Gun Channels that do live conversations, participate in them, are aware of what's going on, both in competitive shooting and hunting and industry, as well as collecting and researching. And then, of course, most people on Gun Channels have a focus on that Second Amendment. None of the things that we participate in as recreational or financially is even available without the right, the protected right to purchase, obtain, transfer, enjoy, and use defensively when needed. So since not everyone has that goal, we focus on that, and most of the members of Gun Channels tend to have that drive. It's not required, but certainly if you're frustrated with what the platforms who decide what's appropriate or not, or the platforms that allow other actors to influence what is promoted or what is banned or what is blacklisted or what is encouraged, then check out Gun Channels. It's, again, built for you by us. We're shooters. We have it pretty much focused on gun stuff, but we're all just human beings, so we're talking about all our real life stuff as well. So this was an effort to share some of the creation of the 2A History Project and specifically the Minuteman University, more specifically the adding a page here to talk about live conversations and the new software that we've got available to us, the Duck, StreamYard, we got XSplit, OBS, and G Suite. I think probably I'd recommend them: free StreamYard, free OBS, free XSplit, paid StreamYard, paid XSplit, then paid StreamYard, and then one of these others. Now, nobody's using Google Meet. Rick was using it and quit, so we'll have to see if anybody joins up on this Google Meet or Suite, whatever the hell they're calling it, and we'll get more info on that. But otherwise, it's just a way to, or a time to spend a little bit of time here, early morning, to share maintenance on the website, and to, I ideally was going to offer a room, but again, my computer couldn't handle the Hangout. If anybody wants to run a Hangout over on Gun Channels, you're more than welcome. One of the things that kept gun channels or made gun channels into what it is, created the community, is the live conversations with the I guess hurdle, or with the challenge to technology. Consider that an opportunity to learn more, get stronger, get harder, and post some stuff over on gun channels. There's a couple of different ways we can do it, and I encourage you to do them live so that they render into a video, just like I kind of posted over here, so that they render into a video when it's all over, and you can, I hadn't put it in here yet, but I'm about to, so that you can take that rendered video and chop it up. What if there's 8 or 9 minutes of gold in a 2-hour conversation? You don't just throw that away because it's included in a conversation. We've got the ability to download, use a piece of software called 4K Video Downloader or something else, to download the video, chop it into the piece that you want, that 8 minutes of gold, and post that as a separate video. You have 2 videos now. One of them is on point. That brings people to the full conversation, and you've got something archived that addresses a specific point. We will change the world by sharing our voices with others. The new generation that's going to take over the voting pool, or the voting majority here, and starting in 2020, are using the internet as their main focus, main source of education. Schools don't teach them stuff. They know they have instant access to stuff online. It's either they're either going to find online prepared bullshit programmed propaganda, or they're going to find honest, real content created by you. And I encourage you to do the latter, to participate, have fun, enjoy this stuff, make money, and give the next generation something to actually absorb. Give them something to think about. Give them some of the nuance that makes up our community. That one of the things that they're often berated for is their noses in the computers. They're not just texting each other. Some of them are, I suppose, but they know how to get out and find something. If they hear something in real life, and anybody hears something in real life, and you question it, how long does it take you to wiggle your fingers and verify it online? Value your voice. Be part of the research, the part of the information people will use to research. It's not all about numbers. It's not about popularity. It's about freedom, free speech, free press, Second Amendment. If that's too much for you, then what the hell? What are you doing up at 6:42 in the morning if you didn't want to get jazzed up about Second Amendment? Alright, well with that, I think I'm going to try clicking... What button do I click over here? This button? Can't be this